I think what East Palestine has done is magnified the problems that have existed in our country for a long time now.
This can happen anywhere. There are trains traveling all around the United States.
This wasn't about the safety of the people, it was about the finances of a multi-billion-dollar company.
If we don't get the help that we need, what does that say about the future for future Americans?
We are allowing this industry to poison us. And if our politicians won't come to us, then we are going to come to them.
It was very cold out that night. The heater in my car wasn't working. I grabbed my daughter and we ran to the car. She kept saying, "Where are we going?" And I couldn't even tell her. I didn't know where we were going. I think she could feel that tension and the panic in me. And I started hearing emergency vehicles, fire trucks, ambulances. And that's not typical for our town.
Look at those flames.
My first thought was, this was one of our biggest fears, and we're living the reality.
State of emergency in Ohio after a train derailment and massive fires.
Emergency crews desperately trying to get control of a potentially deadly situation.
Fears grow around dangerous chemicals that were on board.
We had, I think, 60 fire departments respond. They didn't even know what type of fire they were fighting.
New details on the toxic train derailment.
State officials confirmed that toxic chemicals entered the Ohio River.
5 of the tanker cars that crashed Friday night contain a toxic chemical called vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride.
Classified as a carcinogen, highly combustible.
Linked to cancer. Crews announced they were putting a plan into motion to release toxic chemicals from those 5 cars in order to reduce the threat of an explosion.
They went around and evacuated residents within the 1 mile zone. Literally, there were police officers showing up on people's doorstep telling them, either you evacuate now or I'm coming back with a body bag to get you.
This is a matter of life and death. This controlled release will actually take place and you are in imminent danger.
We were basically a science experiment. When they exploded these chemicals over my community, it looked like a nuclear bomb had been dropped.
They called it a controlled burn. That plume went north, south, east, and west. It went everywhere. And so those chemicals that they burnt went into the air. When I first saw that plume, in my mind and in my heart, I thought they had just condemned a whole village of people.
This has been a deeply traumatic experience for this wonderful community. All the tests of the air and the soil and the water have thus far shown repeatedly that things are safe.
As soon as I pulled in my driveway, the smell was overwhelming. I immediately started coughing. My eyes started watering. They told people that they could come home and that it was safe. When I got out of my car and I looked over, you could see the chemicals in the creek. My daughter is 3 years old. There was no way I was taking her back into that house knowing that it was contaminated.
Wow.
Look at all that.
Look at it.
We were shocked when we showed up.
The narrative was it was all contained, there wasn't any health risks. Neither of those were true based on our initial testing.
The contamination was not contained to the derailment site. There was contamination blowing into the air and being spread out into the community. There was also contamination in the creeks moving downstream, like miles downstream. The government agencies were telling communities that everything's safe, the air is safe, the water is safe, they haven't found anything. But the fact of the matter is there was barely any data available to them.
We've been on the ground. We have gathered a group of 10 independent researchers who are doing their own testing. We are getting grants to pay for that. We have helped bring in groups that have air purifiers, water, all these things nonprofits are doing to take care of the people of East Palestine, which actually should not be happening because our government should be actually doing that.
I want to thank everybody that came here to show support. Right now, even people that aren't comfortable using their voices need to speak out. We need to come back together as a community, and we need to fight this.
Okay, so by a show of hands, how many people have had health symptoms since the derailment? How many people have had serious health effects since then?
People were covered in rashes. They were having nausea, vomiting, upper respiratory issues.
Multiple people were going to the ER, actually having burns, chemical burns on their lungs.
It was very public that people were sick, and yet it was still not mentioned.
How many people are uneasy about their city or well water? How many people have trust in the EPA? How many people have trust that NS will make it right?
When the officials made the data public, we quickly realized that they had talked for 3 weeks about testing drinking water and the drinking water is safe, and it turns out they weren't testing for all the chemicals that were on the train. The actual testing plan that was developed by Norfolk Southern never planned to test for the chemicals of concern on the train. Multiple agencies within the state reviewed that plan. The county reviewed that plan. The US EPA reviewed that plan. All of these agencies didn't force, compel, require Norfolk Southern to test for all the chemicals on the train for the first 3 weeks of the response. I would say that there was an absolute abject failure at all levels of oversight in government.
DeWine was sipping water from East Palestine. The EPA was saying everything is fine. The devastation that Norfolk Southern has caused has not even been revealed at this point.
In a meeting, I asked the EPA, why did you sign off on this open burn of vinyl chloride? The chief of staff for EPA Region 5 said EPA never signed off on the decision to burn vinyl chloride, which is deeply disturbing. My educated guess is Norfolk Southern wanted that busy rail corridor open as quickly as possible. I think the governor of Ohio listened to the rail company more than public health experts. And the heartbreaking thing is that there really was no need to do that mass burn.
We need Governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, to immediately declare a disaster in East Palestine, Ohio, so that we can seek full support from the federal government. Right now, Norfolk Southern's kind of owning this process of what resources people can get, the type of testing they can get, and I think that's really dangerous. If we are letting these train companies and these large corporations do things like this, what does that say about the future for future Americans?
There's a lot of work that needs to be done in East Palestine, and I think that we as a community need to show up to where he works at and demand him to do what we need him to do.
I suffered with infertility my entire life. I was 42 years old when I found out that I was pregnant with Kyla. I moved back home so that I could raise her in the community that I was raised in. These chemicals cause infertility, and the thoughts of my daughter struggling to have children the way that I struggled, knowing what I went through, it breaks my heart. You know, my daily routine is usually putting my phone on speaker and reach out to the independent scientist and stay on top of finding answers. I want my daughter, I want my nieces, I want them to know that I fought for them, that I just didn't lay down and give up. It would be so much easier to lay down and give up and pretend like everything's normal, but I can't do that. I can't do that because of my child.
Home is a place that we felt safe. We all thought that we were going to stay here, raise our kids, because it was a safe environment. Now we use bottled water in our house because we can't trust our village water. Oh my goodness. Oh. My son David, he's 7 years old. I envision for my son a home that he doesn't have to worry about being poisoned. I can remember David coming home from school, and his school, they talked about the train derailment, and he said, "Dad, like, people are getting sick. What are we gonna do?" And that was another reason that we made sure that we were in this fight. The train derailment and what's happening in East Palestine is a direct correlation with what's going on with plastics as a whole in our country. Most of those cars on the train that were hazardous materials were going to make plastics. We are allowing this industry to poison us. Judith, how are you doing today?
Good.
I'm so glad we got to connect. I hear that you're going to be going to the EPA.
We've launched a petition, a public petition, urging the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to use their legal authority to ban vinyl chloride.
I really want to be a part of this. Like, we really want to be involved, especially with the crazy things that happen in East Palestine, and they are directly affected by, you know, the fight that you're getting ready to fight.
Vinyl chloride is a very toxic chemical. It is widely used in the production of plastic. But plastics really are not cheap when you look at the enormous environmental and health damage done by plastic. It's just a matter of who pays. The people of East Palestine and Pennsylvania are paying dearly.
Something that goes through just about every community in the United States, create a serious danger to our health and welfare every single day. People who live in communities closest to these facilities and to the railroad tracks are more likely to be low income, are more likely to be Black, brown, or indigenous, and are more likely to have suffered from historic and systemic impacts from climate pollution.
Plastics and fossil fuels and chemicals are causing tremendous damage to our planet. They're making the climate crisis worse. So the safest thing we can do is reduce the massive amount of chemicals that are moving all over the country by rail to make plastic. I cannot overstate how immensely important a ban on vinyl chloride in the United States would mean for communities. So working with our partners, most importantly, residents in East Palestine and nearby communities, we decided to meet with EPA staff who have the authority to make this important decision.
So we need a group of people. I'm hoping we can get about 10 to 15 people
in the gallery while the House is in session and actually do some disruption. So is there anyone who would want to volunteer? We got one.
This has been one of the biggest things that we've ever put together, this action.
Yes. Our target is Governor DeWine. Like, that is our big target.
Maybe do like one at a time, right? Disrupt, leave a minute or two, and just keep it going as long as possible.
There's a group that's going to go over before, that's going to get to the gallery. They're actually going to disrupt session. The rest of our group, we're going to go to the rotunda and start chanting. So I think you should go into the gallery because I know you're not afraid to you're not afraid to speak your mind.
This way, guys.
Our kids are being poisoned. Bloody ears, bloody noses, and no one will help us. Declare an emergency, Governor DeWine. Put your hands on her. Don't put your hands on her. Do not put your hands on her.
DeWine, it's time. Declare an emergency. All you politicians,
we are going to make sure that you pay attention to us because you're not going to forget us. And if I have to come and bring people to sit in your lobbies and lay down on your floors, you're going to keep talking about East Palestine until the peoples feel like the issues have been fixed.
Governor DeWine sent spokespeople down here who will not have an answer for us. And since they can't have an answer for us because they aren't the person who makes the decision, he sent those people down here on purpose to make sure that we could just get some information to them and then he could say one day, oh, I actually didn't hear that. But what we will do is if I have to come up here once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, I will make sure I get into that damn office so Governor DeWine actually hears what the people are saying and what we're going to be doing.
I'm really impressed with the activists in East Palestine and also Pennsylvania. They're doing exactly what they need to do, and they need to be really persistent. It shouldn't have to be that way, but that's how things work in the United States of America today on environmental issues.
We must act now to ban petrochemicals like vinyl chloride and keep communities safe. If we don't address petrochemical pollution and situations like what happened in East Palestine, not only are we continuing to pollute communities that we live in every day, we're reversing all of the climate progress that we've made over the last decade.
What EPA mostly needs is political courage to stand up to the chemical industry. We cannot have another community go through what East Palestine has gone through in the last 6 months. This is not rocket science. This is political science. This is standing up to special interests, whether they're fossil fuel companies or big rail companies. But the American people deserve so much more than what we're getting right now. I think the big takeaway is your voices were heard, and we may hear this fall whether or not they're putting vinyl chloride on the list. They kind of hinted at it.
They hinted at it. I got the hint of it, But I also got the sense that we need you to keep pushing us so we can do this.
Right.
We
And
need
no
to keep
worries,
doing.
we're pushing.
Oh, we're pushers, so we're good.
We're here for the long term. This is a defining moment for the Biden administration. Do something bold, like ban vinyl chloride. That could be one positive that comes out of this extraordinary negative situation.
It is worth it to make sure that the people of East Palestine are heard and that they are taken care of, because they deserve that.
I don't care if I never get to enjoy another second of my life. Every bit of my time that's not being spent with my daughter or with my family is going to be spent fighting Norfolk Southern, fighting the EPA, fighting the government, fighting whoever I have to fight.